Imagine walking into a crowded room filled with strangers. Conversations overlap and laughter echoes in the distance. You feel invisible, just another face in the noise. Your mind prepares to pass through unnoticed. Then suddenly, something shifts in the air. Someone is looking directly at you. The room hasn't changed, but your body has. Your chest tightens slightly and your breathing slows. A subtle wave of awareness spreads through you. You feel watched, noticed, singled out. The surrounding noise fades into the background. Your attention locks onto theirs without effort. It wasn't a glance that slipped by accident. It wasn't random or careless. It was steady, deliberate, and silent. A message delivered without a single word. Your brain reacts before logic has time to catch up. Something important is happening. Your heart begins to beat faster without permission. Your nervous system quietly switches into alert mode. A surge of energy moves through your chest. You don't understand the reason yet. But your body understands before you do. Something inside you recognizes this moment as significant. Thoughts begin racing in complete silence. Questions appear from nowhere inside your mind. Do they know you? Do they like you? Are you safe right now? Your brain starts writing stories instantly. All of it begins with a look. Nothing has been spoken in this moment. No gestures, no smiles, no words exist yet. Only eye contact connects you. And still, your body reacts as if something powerful just happened. This is not coincidence. This is biology. Eye contact feels simple on the surface. It seems harmless and ordinary. But beneath it lies a powerful biological signal. A signal older than language itself. Older than civilization and culture. A signal your brain never stopped obeying. Long before words existed, eyes carried meaning. They signaled danger, trust, love, and dominance. One look could decide survival. One look could start conflict. One look could begin connection. Your brain still lives in that ancient world. This is why eye contact feels electric and intense. It feels intimate even with strangers. It can make unfamiliar people feel suddenly important. Your brain treats it as something deeply significant. Something worth remembering. Something worth reacting to. Tonight we uncover the uncomfortable truth behind this simple act. Eye contact is not just connection. It is psychological influence. It shapes trust, attraction, and emotion instantly. And once you understand it, you will notice it everywhere. You will never unsee it again. Thousands of years ago, eye contact meant survival. In the wild, locking eyes could signal danger. It could mean a predator had noticed you. Or it could mean a rival was challenging you. A single look could decide life or death. Your brain still remembers this ancient rule. Direct eye contact activated the fight-or-flight response. The body prepared instantly for action. Muscles tightened and senses sharpened. The heart began pumping faster. Every second became important. The brain treated the moment as urgent. But eye contact didn't only signal danger. It also signaled potential connection. In early human tribes, eye contact helped build trust. It showed attention and interest. It signaled safety and cooperation. It became a shortcut to emotional bonding. This created a strange biological overlap. The same signal meant threat and attraction. Fear and curiosity began sharing the same pathway. The brain never fully separated them. And that confusion still exists today. This is where the magic begins. Your nervous system reacts to eye contact automatically. You don't consciously decide to feel it. It happens beneath awareness. Beneath logic and reasoning. Beneath conscious thought. It is pure instinct. When someone holds your gaze, your amygdala activates. This part of the brain scans for emotional meaning. It asks one urgent question. Is this person a threat or a reward? Your body prepares for both possibilities. And that tension feels powerful. Your pupils begin to dilate slightly. Your heart rate increases without permission. Your breathing becomes shallow. Your brain releases adrenaline quietly. You feel alert and awake. Something about this moment feels important. This reaction is called emotional arousal. And here is the twist. Your brain struggles to tell what kind of arousal it is. Fear and attraction feel surprisingly similar. Both feel intense and exciting. Both feel emotionally charged. Your brain often guesses the emotion after the reaction. It creates a story to explain the feeling. Sometimes it chooses attraction. Sometimes it chooses anxiety. Sometimes it chooses fascination. But the reaction came first. This is why eye contact feels electric. It forces emotional significance instantly. It creates intensity without words. It turns strangers into meaningful experiences. And your brain loves intensity. Because intensity feels important. When eye contact lasts longer than usual, the brain changes chemistry. Dopamine begins to rise quietly. This is the same chemical linked to pleasure and reward. Your brain starts labeling the moment as meaningful. Even if nothing has happened yet. Chemistry begins writing the story. Oxytocin can also increase during sustained eye contact. This is the bonding hormone. It creates feelings of trust and connection. It lowers emotional defenses slowly. Your brain starts relaxing without your permission. The stranger begins to feel familiar. Your brain now enters a dangerous territory. It begins filling gaps with imagination. You assume personality from a glance. You assume intention from a stare. You assume emotion from silence. The story grows quickly. Reality struggles to keep up. Eye contact speeds up emotional familiarity. It creates a shortcut to perceived intimacy. Conversations normally build connection slowly. Eye contact jumps ahead in seconds. The brain mistakes attention for understanding. And the illusion deepens. This is why first impressions feel powerful. Sometimes even overwhelming. You feel like you know someone instantly. But you don't know their story. You only know how their gaze made you feel. And feelings can be misleading. Your brain loves shortcuts. Psychologists call them heuristics. They save time and energy. Eye contact becomes a trust shortcut. Your brain assumes, they look at me confidently, they must be trustworthy. And that assumption feels real. But shortcuts can be dangerous. Because shortcuts skip verification. Your brain feels certainty before evidence appears. The emotional reaction arrives before logic wakes up. And once emotion appears, logic often follows behind. This creates a powerful illusion. Eye contact feels like honesty. It feels sincere and open. It feels authentic and real. But feelings are not always facts. And perception is not always truth. Your brain evolved for survival, not accuracy. It prefers quick decisions over perfect decisions. Eye contact triggers fast judgment. Fast judgments feel confident. Confidence feels convincing. Even when it shouldn't. This is where eye contact becomes powerful. It bypasses logic and speaks to instinct. It communicates importance instantly. It creates emotional weight from silence. And most people never notice it happening. Now the story takes a darker turn. Because anything that triggers trust can be used intentionally. Eye contact is no longer just instinct. It becomes a tool. A signal that can be learned and practiced. And sometimes, performed. Confidence can be rehearsed. Presence can be trained. Even eye contact can be engineered. The gaze you trust may not be natural. It may be deliberate and calculated. And you would never know the difference. Salespeople are trained to hold eye contact. Leaders are trained to maintain steady gaze. Public speakers learn to scan rooms slowly. These techniques increase perceived credibility. Even before a single word is spoken. Your brain interprets eye contact as honesty. It assumes transparency and sincerity. It feels safe around steady gazes. This assumption feels automatic. And that makes it powerful. Studies show people trust speakers who maintain eye contact more. Even when the information is identical. Even when the message is false. The gaze alone changes perception. The eyes become persuasive. This means trust can be triggered visually. Before logic begins evaluating the message. Before facts are checked. Before skepticism appears. Trust arrives early. And early trust is powerful. This is where influence begins. Not with arguments. Not with evidence. But with perception. Eye contact shapes how messages are received. Long before the message itself matters. Your brain thinks, they look confident. Then it thinks, confident people are competent. Then it concludes, they must be right. All of this happens in seconds. Without conscious awareness. This psychological shortcut feels natural. But shortcuts can be exploited. Because perception can be designed. And emotions can be guided. All through a simple gaze. You trust the gaze, before you trust the truth. And once trust appears, resistance becomes weaker. Skepticism lowers quietly. The mind opens faster. The influence begins. Here is where the illusion becomes dangerous. Humans associate eye contact with honesty. We believe liars avoid looking directly at us. We assume truth hides inside a steady gaze. This belief feels logical and comforting. But reality is far more unsettling. Research shows skilled liars maintain eye contact more. They know what people expect to see. They know the stereotype of the shifty eyes. So they do the opposite. And the strategy works surprisingly well. Your brain relaxes when eye contact feels steady. Suspicion fades quietly into the background. Your guard lowers without warning. Emotional defenses begin to soften. And trust slips in silently. This is called the truth bias. Humans naturally assume honesty first. We prefer trust over constant suspicion. Society depends on this bias to function. But this bias also creates vulnerability. Eye contact strengthens this bias dramatically. A steady gaze feels sincere and open. It signals confidence and control. The brain interprets this as credibility, even when evidence is missing. This is why con artists practice eye contact. They train their gaze to feel warm and calm. They learn to hold attention comfortably. Their eyes become tools of persuasion. And most people never notice. Politicians use the same technique on camera. Looking directly into the lens simulates eye contact. Millions of viewers feel personally addressed, personally seen, personally spoken to, all at once. The camera becomes a substitute for human gaze. The screen becomes a window of connection. And viewers feel trust through glass and pixels. The illusion still works perfectly. Distance doesn't break the effect. This is the power of perceived attention. Feeling seen creates emotional closeness. Emotional closeness builds trust quickly. And trust makes persuasion easier. The cycle reinforces itself silently. Eye contact becomes a shortcut to influence. A silent persuasion tool hidden in plain sight. Most people never question it. Most people never analyze it. And that is why it works so well. In dating, eye contact triggers attraction almost instantly. A glance can spark emotional arousal. Pupils dilate, heart rate rises, and attention locks in. Your brain starts writing stories about the person. You feel familiar, even if they are a stranger. Attraction begins before words are exchanged. Emotional intensity grows faster than rational thought. You feel drawn to them without knowing why. Small gestures feel amplified. Smiles feel more meaningful. Silence feels heavy. Your body reacts before your mind catches up. Intermittent eye contact creates obsession. When attention comes and goes, your brain releases dopamine repeatedly. You crave the gaze like a reward. You start noticing every small signal. Every glance feels significant. The pull becomes magnetic. Your mind begins filling gaps in understanding. Assumptions about personality, intentions, and feelings appear instantly. You feel connection where there may be none. Imagination amplifies perception. Reality and illusion blur. The gaze controls your emotions subtly. Eye contact can deepen emotional dependency. Your brain associates attention with validation. Being noticed feels safe. Being seen feels important. Your reactions intensify subconsciously. And that bond feels real. Emotional manipulation often exploits this instinct. A person can hold gaze intentionally to create desire or trust. Even small intentional delays in attention amplify the effect. Your brain responds automatically. It has no filters. And it obeys ancient wiring. Over time, repeated eye contact can create attachment illusions. The gaze produces dopamine and oxytocin repeatedly. Emotional intensity becomes addictive. You feel drawn without reason. You feel connected without knowledge. And it shapes your perception silently. Even brief encounters can leave lasting impressions. A single powerful gaze can feel like a lifetime of connection. The brain exaggerates significance. Emotional memory encodes intensely. And you carry the experience longer than expected. In relationships, eye contact becomes a silent language. Words may fail, but eyes speak constantly. Trust, love, tension, and warning are all conveyed non-verbally. One glance can reassure or unsettle. One stare can calm or manipulate. Eyes carry the unsaid truth. Understanding this power is both enlightening and unsettling. Eye contact shapes attraction, trust, and influence invisibly. Your brain reacts before your mind decides. Every glance has potential consequences. Every stare carries meaning. And once you notice it, you cannot ignore it. Eye contact doesn't only shape personal relationships. It shapes society. Leaders use gaze to project authority. Politicians use it to gain trust on camera. CEOs use it to influence employees silently. The power is universal and invisible. During speeches, steady eye contact signals confidence. Confidence signals competence. Competence signals authority. And authority convinces. Your brain reacts before logic engages. Influence is delivered silently. Even subtle gestures matter. A glance to one person creates inclusivity. A glance across the room spreads attention. Your brain interprets selective gaze as importance. It elevates perception instantly. The mind obeys visual cues instinctively. Social control often relies on this principle. Subtle eye contact can calm crowds or escalate tension. Leaders manipulate perception of power through gaze. The effect is invisible yet immediate, and the brain responds automatically. Advertising uses similar tricks. Models, influencers, and actors lock eyes with the camera. The audience feels personally addressed. The gaze triggers trust and desire. Persuasion happens silently. The effect is deeper than words. This creates an illusion of intimacy. You feel seen and understood by strangers on screens. Emotional responses activate subconsciously. Dopamine spikes. Trust builds quietly. Influence spreads without dialogue. Leaders in history have exploited this instinct consciously. Dictators, generals, and politicians used gaze to signal control. A single glance could command attention. A single stare could assert dominance. Obedience could be inspired silently. Humans naturally respond to dominance signals. Eye contact is a shortcut to hierarchy. Subordinates feel compelled to look back. Respect and fear intertwine. The brain interprets gaze as rank instantly. Influence travels silently. Even subtle manipulation works. A leader's gaze can direct attention, guide emotions, or instill calm. Without speaking. Without gestures. Only the eyes. And the effect is more powerful than most realize. Understanding this influence is unsettling. What feels natural is often engineered. Eye contact shapes perception, emotion, and trust invisibly. Your brain obeys instinctively. The gaze becomes a silent tool. And once you notice, you see it everywhere. Eye contact can manipulate without words. It exploits instinctive trust. It triggers emotional arousal. It can guide attention, feelings, and decisions. You rarely realize it's happening. The effect is almost invisible. Behavioral psychologists call this nonverbal influence. Small, repeated glances can encourage compliance. The brain obeys before reasoning begins. Emotional reactions precede conscious thought. And subtle repetition strengthens the effect. Marketing, leadership, and seduction exploit these mechanisms. Eye contact triggers perceived honesty, safety, and importance. The brain responds automatically. Emotions are hijacked silently. Influence spreads effortlessly. Even strangers can manipulate using gaze. The longer and steadier the eye contact, the stronger the effect. Your assumptions change without awareness. Your perception becomes biased. And emotional responses intensify. This is called emotional hacking. Your body responds, your mind obeys, your judgment falters. You feel connected, drawn, and trusting. Even if the gaze is calculated. You cannot help but react. Eye contact can escalate desire, trust, or fear. It is a psychological lever. The brain interprets it as importance. Subtle manipulation works instantly. The effect bypasses logic completely. And it shapes perception powerfully. Even small variations in gaze intensity matter. Too long, too short, too frequent, all create different reactions. The brain decodes these patterns instinctively. Without conscious thought. Influence is embedded in subtle timing. Scammers, seducers, and persuaders exploit this knowledge. They design eye contact to feel natural yet persuasive. Your emotions respond automatically. Your rational mind follows later. The manipulation works silently. Awareness of this power is unsettling. What feels natural may be engineered. The brain obeys instinctively. Emotional responses are predictable. Influence hides in plain sight. And you cannot ignore it once seen. This is why eye contact is more than social behavior. It is a tool of influence, trust, and emotional control. It shapes relationships, decisions, and perception silently. And once you understand, you begin noticing it everywhere. Eye contact can influence without consent. It raises a moral question. When does persuasion cross into manipulation? The line is subtle. Many never notice it being crossed. And yet, the consequences can be profound. Ethical dilemmas emerge when gaze is used to exploit trust. Emotional responses are hijacked silently. People follow, obey, or desire without realizing why. The brain reacts before ethics engage. And intentions can remain hidden. This power can be seductive, dangerous, and addictive. Once someone understands it, they can manipulate outcomes effortlessly. Even small actions carry huge influence. The ethical responsibility is enormous. Yet many remain unaware of the impact. Consider relationships where emotional control hides in plain sight. Trust, love, or attraction can be guided by gaze. Consent becomes blurred. Feelings can be manufactured. And the line between influence and coercion fades. Even in leadership, manipulation can feel natural. A single glance can instill loyalty, fear, or obedience. Decisions are influenced silently. Ethics often lag behind instinct. Power becomes embedded in subtlety. Emotional hacking via eye contact can leave lasting scars. Trust abused becomes distrust later. Bonds broken are harder to rebuild. Perception shapes reality. The mind remembers what the heart felt, not what the logic knew. Society depends on trust and honesty. Yet gaze can override it. Subtle manipulation spreads silently through media, relationships, and authority. Most people obey instinctively. Few question the influence. And consequences ripple endlessly. This power is neither good nor evil inherently. Its morality depends on intention. Healing, teaching, or seduction can all use the same mechanisms. Awareness transforms responsibility. Ignorance magnifies risk. Understanding the psychological truth changes perception. Eye contact is rarely just a look. It carries weight, emotion, and influence. You see connections where others miss them. You feel influence where others are blind. Awareness is both gift and burden. The moral dilemma remains unresolved. How much influence is acceptable? How much manipulation is too much? Once you notice the power of gaze, every interaction carries meaning. You cannot unsee it. And you must choose how to respond. Eye contact doesn't just affect individuals. It ripples through communities. Trust spreads silently. Influence moves invisibly. What one person feels can alter many others. And perception shapes collective reality. Social media amplifies this effect. A single gaze captured on video can feel personal to millions. The brain reacts as if the attention is real. Emotional response spreads like a virus. Influence scales far beyond the physical. Marketing exploits this instinct repeatedly. Ads, campaigns, and influencers lock eyes with audiences. Subtle trust and desire are triggered. Repeated exposure strengthens emotional responses. Decisions are guided silently. And the effect is widespread. Authority figures use gaze to maintain order. Leaders' eyes signal attention and expectation. Compliance increases subconsciously. Emotional states are influenced without speech. Social control can be subtle yet powerful. Even personal relationships are shaped this way. Silent attention can heal or harm. A caring gaze reassures. A critical gaze wounds. Emotions are guided invisibly. Connection becomes more about perception than reality. Your own self-perception changes too. When someone's gaze validates you, confidence grows. When it scrutinizes, doubt creeps in. Influence affects your identity silently. Awareness alters how you respond. And perception becomes reality. Ripple effects extend to decision-making. Choices you think are rational may be shaped by unseen gaze influence. Emotional responses dominate before logic arrives. The chain reaction is subtle. And your autonomy feels tested. Even memories are colored by gaze. Moments where eye contact occurred feel more significant. Emotional encoding intensifies. The brain exaggerates meaning. And past experiences shape present reactions. Awareness creates choice. Once you understand the psychological mechanics, you can resist or harness them. Influence is no longer invisible. Control returns partially. But the responsibility is heavy. Eye contact is a silent force in every interaction. Personal, social, and societal dynamics bend around it. Once you notice it, you see it everywhere. You understand its subtle power. And the ripple effects never end. Once you understand the power of eye contact, mastery becomes possible. You can guide attention, trust, and perception. Influence can be ethical or manipulative. Awareness allows choice. Instinct no longer rules blindly. You gain a psychological tool of immense power. Eye contact mastery is subtle. It is about timing, intensity, and focus. Small shifts in gaze change perception dramatically. Emotional responses are triggered automatically. And your actions shape others before they realize it. Understanding instinctive brain responses allows control. You predict reactions, anticipate trust, and guide attention. Influence becomes deliberate. Emotions can be shaped consciously. And you navigate social dynamics with precision. Eye contact mastery is not about domination. It is about awareness. Understanding how gaze affects perception protects you from manipulation. It also allows subtle persuasion ethically. Knowledge becomes a shield and a tool. The mind reacts before logic. Mastery allows alignment of instinct and intention. Subtle signals become meaningful. Emotional reactions are guided consciously. The brain learns new patterns. And influence is wielded responsibly. Mastery also means restraint. Not every gaze needs to be used. Awareness allows observation. Observation allows choice. You see patterns others miss. And your power becomes internal, silent, and profound. Life-altering insight emerges, perception shapes reality. What people see and feel often outweighs objective truth. Eye contact is a conduit for that perception. Mastery teaches understanding. Mastery teaches subtle influence. And mastery teaches awareness. Emotional awareness deepens. You recognize the difference between instinctive trust and manipulated trust. You distinguish genuine connection from engineered attention. The mind no longer obeys blindly. You gain clarity. And your choices become conscious. Understanding gaze psychology transforms relationships. Communication becomes intentional. Connections become meaningful. Trust is earned, not assumed. Influence becomes ethical. And emotional bonds are reinforced consciously. Knowledge of this power changes perspective permanently. You notice influence everywhere. You perceive subtle control in others and in yourself. Awareness creates responsibility. Insight becomes a lens. And the world feels both more complex and more understandable. Now we reach the haunting truth. Eye contact is more than a social cue. It shapes emotions, trust, and decisions silently. Influence happens before awareness. You have seen how perception can be guided. And this power is everywhere. You cannot unsee the mechanisms of influence. Every glance carries potential. Every stare can alter perception. Your brain reacts instinctively. Awareness creates both insight and caution. And every interaction now carries weight. Relationships, leadership, marketing, and society all exploit these instincts. Subtle manipulation can be ethical or dangerous. Awareness decides the path. You notice the invisible threads others follow blindly. And the mind obeys what the eyes signal. Your perception of reality shifts. You see patterns in behavior. You detect influence before it is executed. You anticipate responses. You understand the psychology behind every glance. And your consciousness expands. Life is now layered. Every interaction has depth. Trust is measurable. Influence is visible. Emotion is traceable. And awareness becomes a lens for every human encounter. The psychological tools you've learned are subtle yet profound. They reveal the hidden mechanics of human behavior. Eye contact becomes a guide, not a coincidence. Understanding becomes empowerment. Observation becomes insight. And mastery becomes responsibility. Awareness also carries discomfort. Once you see influence, you notice its presence everywhere. It can unsettle, provoke, or awaken curiosity. You realize how much of life is guided invisibly. And yet, insight is powerful. The lesson is clear: perception shapes reality. Your brain reacts before reasoning. Emotional responses can be guided silently. Influence is unavoidable. Awareness changes how you navigate the world. And knowledge is both shield and sword. Remember, what feels natural may be engineered. Trust, desire, and attention are manipulable. Observation gives choice. Understanding gives control. The gaze is powerful, invisible, and omnipresent. And your responsibility is to wield it wisely. So ask yourself, In every glance you give, in every stare you meet, who is influencing whom? Awareness is the key. Your eyes see more than before. Your mind understands more than before. Influence is everywhere. And the world is watching through silent eyes.